Welcome to the October 25th meeting of the City of Villa Rica Planning Commission. This is a call to order. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor, raise their right hand. All opposed? We have adopted the agenda 3-0. First up is old business. If everyone's seen their minutes, had a chance to read them.
I have a question.
Okay.
It does not say, it says that Chairman Kraft and Commissioner John Mount were absent. Does not say with or without approval, or no approval.
Okay.
Had you given notice?
I had given notice, yeah.
Well, maybe John had too, I don't know. But it ought to, see if we ought to state that in the minutes.
Okay.
For the record, I know that the two absent last month sent in letters because you had the goat chicken issue on, and so the city had gotten 2 letters, so we know that they had stated in advance.
Maybe I ought to say that in the minutes.
Okay.
Make that amendment.
Apologize, I'm late. I think I drove up on a crime in progress, but we'll know shortly.
See, now I'm not the bad guy. You took over. I was late too.
Huh?
I said I was late too, I beat you by 2 minutes.
Yeah, there's someone at the back of the Georgia Power Building helping themselves to the surveillance cameras.
Nice.
Other than that, minutes look all right.
Okay. I was not here, so I can't vote, but is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Read the minutes. Move.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor? All right. All opposed? All right. 2 approved and 1 abstained due to absentia. Yes. Okay. Next up is new business. Let's see, which is a conditional use. And I guess if someone, either David or Elisa, want to read what that is.
This is actually a final plat for Twin Oak subdivision, Phase 2A, which is just off of South Carroll Road. This one, as a final plat, should not actually be going to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We actually have some incorrect information in our UDC. The UDC shows that final plat reviews come here, but preliminary plats go to the City Council, which is actually totally in reverse. We suspect this is probably one of the reasons why a lot of the final plats never got to the next step of being adopted and accepted by the council and therefore recorded. But more importantly, I have informed the mayor that the Twin Oaks, although it will be discussed at the work session, most likely will be a recommendation to take absolutely no action. The reason is staff went out and did a inspection of the public utilities. When you talk about that, everything from curb, gutter to streets, roads, sewer, etc. So in this case, for instance, you have a plat being submitted for final plat, which means that the infrastructure really shouldn't even be in use. In this instance, you have sewage flowing through sewer lines, and we're not even sure where they're tapped in or how sewer is even going through because it's not even built. Second, the actual public utilities which would be adopted if we approved it are in horrific condition. So there's no way we would recommend to the council that they accept the public utilities in the current state that they are in. So at this point, staff really is saying the UDC is wrong. I'd encourage you just to take no action and refer it back to staff.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I guess at this point, just for formalities, is there anyone in the audience that would like to step up and recommend this to anyone? None being, no takers. Is there anyone opposed to this conditional use? None taken, all right. The public section is closed. Any questions for staff? Or motion?
Any additional staff comments?
None on the conditional use final plat.
Oh, John's,
Yes,
Let the record show.
didn't see him sneak in.
John showed up.
We're only going to pay him for the time that he's been here, though.
Exactly. All right. So,
So, sorry, I'm a little bit late. Traffic. So, you're saying that the utilities out there now are not in acceptable condition?
That's correct.
So you're recommending that the developer restore those, upgrade them, whatever she will?
To the city's utility guidelines, yes, that are currently in place.
I make a motion that we, this resorts back to the staff, that the staff ask the developer to upgrade the utilities to the city's standards before the conditional use permit will be.
Is that appropriate to make that motion? Because we're really not to act.
I think maybe just to make a motion for it to go back for staff study, and then it would come back to us, and then we can add things once they've had a chance to.
Well, if we have the information that it's not up to grade, I don't see why that wouldn't be, if the,
We don't have the information on us.
so we don't really have that information?
Which information?
That the sewer system is not up to city standards?
We actually did a staff inspection of it. We're actually going to, on Thursday at the work session, advise the council. We also have engaged the city attorney because the UDC is incorrect. This body is a advisory body, actually doesn't have the authority to do final plat reviews. You're supposed to do the preliminary plat reviews, and so somehow or another it got backwards. So it's sort of kind of bizarre. But so my recommendation on this one was just refer it back to staff because the preliminary has already been done. That's the funny thing about the whole thing.
Okay, so we refer it back to staff for them to gather more information and come back up for review. We don't have enough information to approve this.
Yeah, because this one, once the UDC gets fixed, then once they restore the utilities back to current code, then the final plat should at that point go to the city council.
Okay, so I'll make another motion. So I make a motion that we refer this back to staff so they can do a review and upgrade the UDC to code and bring it back to us for recommendations.
We have a motion to revert this back to staff for further review. Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second to revert back to staff. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next up is staff comments by David Milliron.
A couple things. Let's see, pending plan zoning, we're not aware of anything immediate that I'm aware of. We are aware that we anticipate some initial development to be filed. For instance, Tanner should be submitting their expansion very shortly. We met with them in recent weeks, so they plan to try to get that permitted hopefully by year end, but time's a ticking here. The staff has been doing a review of code in the UDC, and that is something that we believe may be a great opportunity for this board to really examine, but doing so with some expert guidance, if you will. There are some serious issues in there. In fact, if you start to really study the code, it'll point to things that aren't even in the code or are incorrect in the code. We wanted to aggressively work on getting that refined. And then quite frankly, the UDC, the feedback that we're getting pretty aggressively is that it's very convoluted and hard to navigate and understand, but it's also in conflict with our some portions of our code of ordinances, if you will. There's also some things that, if you sit down and read, your eyebrow ought to be raised. For instance, littering. Littering by the UDC and the code says that it's any organic or inorganic material. Well, if you have firewood piled in the back of your yard, is that not organic or inorganic material by definition? By the code it is. So how do you cite someone for felled trees as, organic, but you don't? So there's some issues, and those are the minor ones. There's some serious ones, but on an unrelated note, zoning board of appeals. From a staff perspective, why do they exist, and what is the importance to the city? Under Georgia law, a lot of what you do under the zoning, planning and zoning commission is governed and sort of backed by state law, if you will. Cities that have issues come up before their governing bodies and they make a decision and they want to appeal, generally get appealed immediately to the courts. So the real purpose of a zoning board of appeals is that you can send it through the zoning board of appeals with staff recommendation, and that it then gives a trigger mechanism to have an appeal before the council, where then of course the council can weigh in with their city attorney before it ever becomes litigious and go to court. So a lot of the planning and zoning issues that you find rising to the courts, those governing bodies, if you look at them very carefully, they do not have zoning board of appeals. So as the city council and governing body goes through the process of examining where it's at with respect to the zoning board of appeals that's in the current charter, the staff recommendation is going to be continue to have that body. They are not an advisory body to the council like you are. You all review all the cases. It would not be appropriate for you to be judge and jury at the same point under an appeals standpoint. In fact, you open yourself to more litigation. So just wanted to put that out there because as the city is growing, it is a viable board and does have a purpose. But it's a very distinct purpose than what this board does and its functions.
But the recommendation of the redraft of the city charter removed that provision.
I know, I noticed that. But Steph's going to be asking for that and 2 other things be put back in.
Yeah, the zoning board of appeal also, they had final say, correct? It didn't go back to council. I thought that the way the originally read that if the was upheld by the appeals board, then it was upheld.
Yeah, the way that it is supposed to be properly governed and written is that conditional uses are one thing. Appeals or variances are another. They should have the authority to decide on variances and then as an appeal mechanism be able to appeal to the governing body. But you have to have a checks and balances. Otherwise, anyone that reserves their right basically walks out and files in court, and then now it's become litigious. So it's actually a mechanism. So yeah, there is, and I had the conversation with the city attorney today because I noticed it's been completely written out. But there is actually a valid reason, a rhyme or reason in code for why you have a board of appeals.
Okay. I have a question for the city staff.
Sure.
2018 is time for our
Comp plan?
comprehensive plan to be redone. Is there any provision in the new budget for 2017 to start on that, or is they going to wait until the last minute and try to cram it all in?
No, if you look under the governing body section, there's $100,000 allocated for the comp plan
So
in
we do,
2017.
okay, so we have a complaint. And does the city plan on hiring a outside, I guess, expert to help with that plan? Do you have an idea on what the plan is for that at this point?
That'll be up to the council as to whether or not they fund the 100,000. A comp plan, of course, is pretty extensive. That's a sort of not to exceed amount. Ideally, we would want to do a professional comp plan. The city spent $41,000 on a professional downtown master plan. It would only make sense that we go in tandem and have professional do the comprehensive plan, so that we're all encompassing. You also are dealing with different planning districts, which makes it all the more important because we bridge ARC at the same time as Three Rivers, and that puts us in a very unique situation with requirements that the city has to behold to on development and planning.
Okay, so has the staff priced out the cost to get the comprehensive plan developed? I mean, do we have an estimate, as far as what we're looking to
Sure
spend?
do.
What would that be?
We're going to budget up to $100,000.
Up 100,000, okay.
Yes.
I didn't know if there was 100,000 this year, 100,000 next year.
No, the whole thing will be encompassed within the $100,000.
Okay,
But because, when you do that, you want to put it out for bid. So when I put the 100,000, I did, but I don't want to go on record because next thing you know, we put it out for an RFP and guess what happens then? It comes into exactly, they know what the figure is. But yeah,
Well,
I did contact
I mean,
a professional firm to find out what a size city with our particular issues, and they gave me a range.
yeah, my company bids government work all the time, and that's not unusual to see the engineer's estimate. That doesn't mean I'm trying to hit it, because I know somebody else would be lower.
What would be the plan for this group with that outside agency? How would we be involved as a planning commission?
As a planning commission, you'd actually be pretty integral in that. There'd be multiple charrettes, very much like the stakeholder groups were done. A comp plan actually requires multiple voices, multiple input, but most of the final product ultimately would need to be blessed by this group before it went to the council for final adoption.
But would we have a significant role to play in the development of that draft?
Yeah, because the professional firm, of course, is literally examining everything. This is why I mentioned now sort of the time to start looking at your current code, your UDC, your zoning maps, planning, things like that. These are things that have to sort of get in order before you're actually ready to go to the next step. You have some rather ambiguous zoning in a couple areas. And we're going to be working to work with you all and point some of that out. There's some holes in your, current zoning map, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to do the UDC, the code, along with the plan, so everything matches, at least start out. And then my hope is on this next plan is we can have a update every couple of years or something, because our current plan is completely upside down from what it was 10 years ago. Mirror Lake was a amusement park, so having the Eastern Bypass go to an amusement park makes perfect sense. Having it go through Mirror Lake does not, so.
Yeah, because I think your current plan sort of envisions to 2025, and it's fascinating reading.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at it, and we've
Reviewed it.
Yeah, we've gone through it over the last year. Janet was really good about that. We'd take a section every meeting and go through it. So, and it's very, like I say, very outdated.
Yeah.
Numbers are way off.
Because I think your baseline was like 2008.
Yes.
The last, yeah. And the dynamics of the city are very much different. There are some glaring areas that needed attention. For instance, guidelines on future growth of the city, annexation, boundaries, things of that nature. There's some very serious areas that you're going to want to take some stronghold looks at.
Yeah.
But again, I anticipate the community development manager position to be posted rather soon. They are working on, I drafted all of the, what I call the sort of essay questions. This is more of a very technical but also complicated position to recruit for. So we were a little more zealous as to how we put together a plan to recruit for this position. So the job description has been completely rewritten and is ready to go. And the interview questions are in Vicki Coleman's hands now. She's got over 20 years of background in this area, so she's making a couple tweaks, and then I anticipate that we'll post the job.
With that said, as part of the zoning board, do we have any input on the staff that's being hired? I mean, do we get to look at the resumes, review their qualifications? You know, most of us all been doing this for 2 to 3 years now. Janet was very good, so I think
Yeah, there's actually a plan to have 5 total folks on the vetting review committee. None of those have been selected yet.
Okay. And then same with the comprehensive plan. If this council does approve the funding for that, will the zoning board have input on selection of the winning contractor based on qualifications?
You'll actually review the RFP submittals.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. I would like to add a 3 section A. Typically in November, we vote to not have a meeting in December since it falls in between usually the Christmas holiday and the 31st. So if there's probably not going to be a November meeting, and I'm getting maybe a little ahead of myself, I was going to float it out to the members here to see if you wanted to vote tonight to not, in other words, go ahead and not have a meeting in December.
So back to Twin Oaks, do you expect them to have something by the November meeting?
I'm pretty confident that if we make our text amendments, UDC, it's not going to come back before this board. So I'll be
Oh,
very-
so you think it'll just go directly to,
Well, I mean, we want to fix the UDC. We're starting to find and stumble across some issues of things that were not recorded that should have been recorded. So we're addressing those now. I'm not aware of any planning and zoning. I know that there's a variance request coming,
Well-
and we're a little stealthy about that right now because it's under the EDO.
all right, so how about this? I make a motion that we suspend the November meeting unless there is a zoning issue that would uphold a major project, then the city can override my motion to not have the November meeting.
I mean, my motion was for the December.
December
The
meeting.
December meeting,
Yeah.
yes, I'm sorry, for the December meeting.
The December meeting, yeah.
Yeah, so unless there's a pressing issue that would
Right, we can
hold up a
always-
major,
something actually comes up. But
Yeah.
here again, this goes back almost 10 years to where we would, okay, how many of y'all can come? And it was between Christmas and New Year's and be 2,
Yeah,
and you
no,
can't
I
vote.
agree.
And so this
Yeah.
just more or less was more of an administrative thing where we're just
Okay.
like, forget it
I make a motion then we suspend the meeting and,
for December.
yeah, for December.
Okay, have a motion to suspend the meeting for December. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? December meeting is suspended. I know y'all are tore up about it.
I told you there were other things you had mentioned. This is stepping back. Things like the charter. We're going to hopefully try to get the council to align the number of years of serving. Planning and zoning as an annual just simply becomes a political sort of appointment. It's a huge anomaly in the state to have a planning and zoning commission where all 5 members serve on an annual basis. It's very detrimental to the longevity of the city. So we're going to be pushing for 3-year terms.
What seems strange, you got the zoning board of appeals for 3 years and P and Z for 1 year.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. But again, it just goes back to history, and it's a new day in Villa Rica, and see what the will of the council is. I mean, heck, one day we might even get the nameplate stall match.
That's true. Okay. Any other staff comments? You can think of.
I don't think so. I mean, I think if you haven't followed, let's see, residential building permits are up 200%.
Okay.
Which is very positive. We're seeing a lot of commercial development, which is all positive. We anticipate in the next 30 to 60 days to actually make some rather large announcements, which is always positive. The racetrack is going full tilt with its renovation. The new Dunkin' Donuts. Baskin Robbins is almost complete with the exterior. They've done the stormwater and retention in the back. Number one question that comes up is over here on Edge Road and Liberty, what the heck's going on there? That is a temporary laydown area for the pipeline project. So they've leased all that area for their equipment as they're working on the pipeline. The Holiday Inn Express is certainly moving earth there and putting in its underground utilities. The urgent care up next to, I guess, Zaxby's and Captain D's. The second floor of that, we just did the CO for that. So that whole second floor will be done out. Luther's has renovated its next door for the steakhouse, so that's going to be open rather soon here. Told you Tanner's about to submit. The appraisers for the North Loop are out in the field meeting with folks every day. They've been moving some earth over there for the soil samples. There's 3 North Loop related things on the agenda for the council work session and meeting to move that forward. So, that project's going.
But more cost involved. That's not.
Oh yes, every year there's cost, and
That's not in the budget.
all 3 of these are not in the budget. However, the interesting thing is we unearthed the document from way back in 2005 that actually listed out everything that the city had agreed to pay for. So they agreed up front. It would have been nice if I had that document every time, this would be my second budget. And to say, oh, by the way, so I just told our city attorney, I'm going to be getting this to you as well. But at the end of the day, the city council did make a commitment. I anticipate by the time the road's built, the city will have invested $1 million for a $10 million road, give or take. The big issue that the council will have to decide in the near future is the water sewer installation at the time the road's being built, which is very critical. It's going to come down to, because if you do it after the fact, you're just going to have to add about 25 to 30%. The council will have to make that decision and look at the budget as to what it wants to spur for economic development over there. Most of that's still in the books as residential. I think like RD or something. So.
Anything new on the sewer for the church, for the Heart House?
We shouldn't have anything until the first for the council meeting. Engineers are out there doing all their surveying and stuff like that, trying to put together a price estimate. The downside is we've had to put a freeze on the water pipeline replacement because there's not enough dollars to do both, so they have to do one or the other. So we're waiting for those figures to come in, so the council is going to decide what it wants to do with the remaining SPLOST money it has, because that'll be the final wipeout, leftover SPLOST. There's no more SPLOST after that. So.
Anything new in the library?
I know that let's see, the final furniture is supposed to be here, I think by November 6th, give or take, and installed. The final landscape plans are being hammered out so that they can get irrigation landscaping over there. There's a hard stop budget on that. They can't exceed $100,000. The signage is in the works. They've cleared up the whole front end. They're putting that in. But I am telling folks, they could open in December. They can open in January. It's really, going to be hit or miss. The biggest delays on that, obviously keep in mind, there was like 4 foot of water from the start of that project. So there was no less than 22, I believe, rain days on the calendar. Going out to value add on the furniture pushed things back. Apparently prisoners actually have a lot of rights, and they don't exactly work 9 to 5 and make things on time, but that's been delays. We've had, I believe it was 3 water intrusions, so we've had engineers go back and forth and fight and argue with one another, and they've all now come to a consensus as to the grading, and in order to be able to resolve that, they also have to address a major inlet. But because that library is so far down now, it's only designed for a 100-year flood. So I'll be the first to say right now, if we get more than a 100-year flood, there will be water in that library. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're never going to have a water intrusion again. It's what it is. So, but it'll be a great facility. The contractor has really bent over backwards on the punch list, and it's been a mammoth punch list. So maybe December or January. So.
Well, it sounds like Norfolk Southern has arrived.
Yes. Thank you very much. Next up is public comment. Gives you your chance for open mic night, which means you have up to 10 minutes to give us your opinion on anything you'd like. Do I have any takers?
More people than we've ever had present.
I was going to say, I'm a little getting some stage fright here. All right, with no takers, we close for public comment. Next up is adjournment. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? We are adjourned unanimously. Thank you.